I learned about Grant Morrison back when we were doing the Crank movies, because apparently he's a big fan of those movies. And he said in an interview one time how much he loved Crank 2. Anybody who loves Crank 2 is all right with me. But then years and years go by, and then all of a sudden I find this book, Happy, and I start getting involved with the original film, developing this thing. And when you read Happy, you start seeing all these references to the Crank movies. So you're seeing this guy, and he's like in a hospital gown. He's running through a hospital, getting chased by cops, covered in blood. And I'm like, man, this seems familiar. But it didn't really register with me until we were on set, literally shooting these scenes, and I was getting this feeling of deja vu. You know, how much of this sort of homage stuff to the Crank movies was in Happy. So it was really serendipitous in that way. Anybody who follows Grant's work knows that he's completely insane. And he lives in this castle up in Scotland with all these cats. And so basically, when you work with Grant Morrison, it's kind of like going into this dark cave filled with perverts and cats and strange ideas, and you just kind of keep going down the cave and going down the cave, and then at some point you see the light and you run out of the cave as fast as you can, and whatever you can take with you, that becomes the basis for something. But it's awesome working with him. We just the graphic novel of Happy was really just a jumping off point. It's 4 issues, it takes place in 2 nights, the guy dies at the end. This was supposed to be something much bigger, an extended universe that can sustain a full season and beyond, So we invented new villains, new characters, new story arcs, new backstory, just all kinds of new stuff. Just the nature of this guy's brain, it's it's a real trip just sitting down with him and just jamming.
Can you take us through the process of landing on Maloney as the lead?
He was the first guy we went to, which rarely happens, because he's done he's done very serious kind of, jam a guy up against the wall, kind of badass cop stuff. And he's also done super broad, over the top comedic shit Wet Hot American Summer, that kind of thing. But it's always been either one or the other. And this is the first time he's really been able to do the whole Chris Maloney thing. I don't know who else could do it. I don't know who else can go from convincingly badass to just completely silly, just often in one sentence, kind of modulating it. He's really, really, really good. I think people are going to flip out when they see him in this. Even fans of his have never really seen fully what he can do.
How is it working with an animated character and that whole process?
Oh, it sucks. I mean, working with an animated character totally sucks. Making movies in general, or television, is my first television thing, but any kind of filmed entertainment, it's already like wrangling kittens, right? Or eating spaghetti with a butter knife with somebody else's hands. I mean, it's already incredibly awkward, and just things that seem really graceful and potent in the final version, when you see how they're made, it's just such an obfuscated and ridiculous process. And then it makes it even more when you're dealing with a character that you can't even get a sense of what the real performance is until a month later. That being said, on another level, it's really fun, because you're not bound by what's on set. You're not bound by what happened on the day. You can react to things with a kind of hindsight that you never really get filming. A lot of times, 3 days later, you're filming something, you go oh, man, I wish we could have done that. Well, now we can. We can keep changing it and evolving it, and react. He's interplaying with Chris all the time. And Patton Oswalt in the studio has his own sense of timing, his own improvisations, his own. He has so much that he's bringing to it. It's you have another opportunity to get it right. You have another opportunity to make magic moments and to sort of make this chemistry happen between the characters. So it's really frustrating and difficult, and then when it all gets done, it's really cool. I grew up playing metal, right? And Revolver is your Bible. And it always kind of has that place. So it's coming from a musical background like I do, you take that aggressive approach to every aspect of what you do. We're sort of trying to take a punk metal approach to making television. You know, we're trying to not be safe. We're trying to do everything loud. We're trying to do everything a little bit wrong and everything a little bit dissonant. And whenever you think you've got it, whenever you think you've got it figured out, bam, we're going to hit you from another angle. And we're just going to keep hitting from other angles until you're like knocked out on the canvas. That's the idea. So it's totally fucking cool for me to be in Revolver, because this is a magazine that I read like, you know, every week growing up. And I never got in Revolver as a musician, but now I get to get in as a filmmaker. It's badass.